As the mayor of the town of Clayton, I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. I ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we pause to give you thanks for the many blessings of this day. And we ask, Lord, now that you be with us as we proceed with the business for the town of Clayton. For it's in your great name we pray. Amen. Amen. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No, sir.
All right. Then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Up next is your consent agenda.
Move we approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The next item under administrative items is the downtown parking master lease agreement, resolution 20-22-37.
Good evening, Patrick Pierce, Economic Development Director, also joined by Ruth Anderson, that's okay, who is a part of the downtown parking task force. So we're here tonight with a resolution here with a master parking agreement that we've been working with the town attorney on. The idea with this really is to have a master template that we can work with downtown property owners. As you know, the task force has been working for several months now, doing outreach, and one of the key things that, as was presented this spring, was activating our private parking lots around downtown to make them available during off hours and other times that make sense for the various properties to make them available to the public and enter into a public-private partnership around those. So this agreement here lays out a template for us to be able to negotiate, town staff, myself, and the town manager to enter into those. And using this and using the guidance that the town attorney has given us on these. So we've done outreach with property owners around on this. It's been largely positive. The majority, if there have been any concerns, are really those which will be addressed in the individual exhibits. Each property, each parking lot has its own individual characteristics. Whether it's a bank, whether it's a grocery store, an existing parking lot that is just a parking lot, each are going to have different characteristics to them, and really its design and the way that we designed it was to have flexibility there to be able to use those exhibits to really tweak each agreement to really fit the needs of each of the different property owners and make it work out best. So with that, we're asking for your okay on this resolution. And I want to thank, and I'm going to give it to Ruth here in a second, but just thank the task force and all their guidance and all their work on this forward. And I know they're excited to get moving on these and move on to next phases of things that they would like to accomplish here. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ruth.
I'm short, so I'm going to have to move that down. Just wanted to thank Jody for putting this task force together as an initiative. And the group that's working together has gelled really well. And we thank the council for this opportunity, because I can tell you it is a working task force, and we move the ball forward at every meeting. We're not rehashing the same stuff. We are creating momentum, and Patrick and Rich and Jody are at every meeting. So we've got town representation as well as public. And they've worked really hard to get this done, and we appreciate your faith in us.
Thank you.
With that, if you have any questions on this, we'd be glad to take them.
Any questions or comments for staff? Mr. Casey.
So you said this is a template, so it can obviously be adapted and changed based on the conditions.
Yes, that's correct. So if you look at several spots in there, it will refer to Exhibit A, which really gives you an opportunity through those exhibits to modify any of these pieces to make sure, again, it meets the needs of each individual. So in creating a template, we wanted to make sure we had the flexibility there to be able to adapt it, because it is a template and needs to be able to work for everyone, hopefully.
Ms. Archer.
I'm really excited to see that this has come this far. I remember this all got started before our election and swearing in. So I remember thinking at the time, and I still do, that it's a really creative and practical way to help address the parking situation downtown. And I definitely believe this is the best option at this time in terms of having an organized approach to parking downtown. I noticed in the lease that the town would be responsible for the signage. I think that was put on us, which is great. I think we could have wayfinding, getting people to the open spots and that sort of thing. One thing I just did want to just thinking forward, and this is just kind of throwing this out here for discussion. I noticed the leases are it's like a 3 to 5 year term. And, I guess at this point we don't have any hard numbers, but just thinking of budgets and balancing numbers as we move forward. This is definitely the solution for now, but just sort of thinking down the way, how much money we're putting toward short-term lease agreements, and then at what point, we start looking at taking money like that, depending on the numbers, and putting it toward a more long-term solution. So just want to put that out there for council to be thinking about, and obviously we're going to have to make sure these numbers all work out as we move forward.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a very good point, and that makes sense, and really appreciate the support in council in the budget moving forward to be able to, start this as an interim step and really be thinking about both the short-term and the long-term needs of the town and downtowns.
I think it also buys us time to start this process moving forward in a really good way, and that way we can be thoughtful about how we want to do this going forward over time.
And to your point on wayfinding, I know that's something that the task force is really excited to get geared up on, and that they see that as very much the next step is how do you make sure folks in cars can get to the parking spots once they're out of there? How do they then walk and get to the destinations they want? So they're really excited to roll up their sleeves on that next.
Awesome. Mr. Casey.
I had a couple other things to add. Thank you. I agree as well, Councilwoman Archer. I do feel like this is, I want to thank the committee for doing this. I think it was fantastic. I think this is an opportunity to put this in our toolbox and use it, and work towards a more long-term solution. I think the main thing for me is I want people to come down and feel comfortable parking without seeing every other space or parcel be a parking lot. I mean, if there's unused opportunities, or missed opportunities, this gives us the opportunity to take advantage of that. And, it gets us closer to that goal. I mean, for me, I could see us, some other long-term things, maybe a fee in lieu in certain situations, public-private partnerships, but I'm excited to see this happen. I'm excited for what y'all have done, and I think this is the start of something, more long-term. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
To that point, one quick thing, what it's led to is a great collaboration between the town and property owners feel heard. They did not feel heard before, and what their concerns were with people parking on their lots. It's trash, it's liability, it's all kinds of things. So this has been, I would say, as well as coming up with a solution, a great collaboration and letting property owners feel heard about what their needs are and what their concerns are. So it's really done a lot, I think.
I agree. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much.
Motion. I make a motion to approve the master lease agreement, action 2022-37.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the master lease agreement and the resolution 2022-37. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, up next is new employee introductions. Begin with Lee Barbie.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Lee Barbie, interim deputy manager. This time I'd like to introduce Alan Turnage. He's our new electrical director. He's married, has 3 children, lives in the Wilson Mills area. brings to you almost 35 years of experience with Duke Energy, which was previously Progress and previously CP&L, so he's been through some changes. But also, he's been a member of the community in Wilson Mills, served Wilson Mills Fire Department for 28 years, from a firefighter all the way up to a chief officer. And I've been able to work beside him doing that over the years. He also sits on the board of directors at this time with the fire department. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Alan.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to, got a lot of ideas. Hadn't had a real good 3 weeks, so I was prepared for darts. So if I can answer any questions, I will. But I do have some ideas. Got a really good group of guys that are hard workers, forward thinkers. We're just looking for support, and like I say, anything I can do, questions I can answer, chunk away. I was prepared for some answers tonight if anybody does have questions about what's going on the last couple of weeks. If not, that'll be fine too.
Well, first of all, we're glad to have you here. And, this council values our electrical department without question. And so do our citizens, and it's really, for us, it's about that level of customer service you can't find anywhere else. So we're excited to have you on board. We know you bring a lot of experience to the table, and you get an opportunity to evaluate what we got and help us take it to the next level. So
Thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
thank you. All right. And then Salvador? Yes. You're sitting back there so quiet, I didn't see you.
Good evening, Council. Today I'm presenting for Bill Simpson. He was just feeling under the weather. To my left is Michael Ratley. He's one of our new apprentice from Rural Water Apprentice Program. And to my right is Alona Williams. She's also an apprentice. You want to tell them about yourself?
Evening, Council. Appreciate the opportunity of y'all deciding to partner with North Carolina Rural Water Association. Give us this opportunity to, just work the city. I have no experience in wastewater, but lots of other experiences in life. But I look forward to the opportunity. I've got a great team, great support system already. In just the month that we've been here, we already see that we already feel like part of the family in the town of Clayton. So we really do appreciate the opportunity that you're giving to us and allow us to grow in our knowledge set and just see where we go.
Awesome.
Basically what Michael said, kind of hard to follow up with that, but I'm very excited for this opportunity. And yeah, I'm really excited, really happy that you guys decided to partner with the Rural Water Association. So
Awesome.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Salvador.
Yes.
Did we skip Joshua? No. Okay. All right, and I think that is everyone. So the next item is the presentation of the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Campo Southeast Area Study Update. It's marked off on my agenda because Joshua says Tim Robbins is not going to be here. Oh. Oh. Why did he sit down then? Is that a good question? Okay, we'll come back to him. How about that? Okay. Proceed.
Okay, good evening. So just wanted to give a quick update briefing on the Southeast Area Study Update. We would have had a staff member from Campo here for this, but they are having staffing challenges as well as similar to a lot of other jurisdictions, a lot of other government agencies, so I'm pinch hitting tonight. So the agenda for this presentation, give a quick project background, review the project partnership and involvement, schedule an outreach strategy, and then looking ahead. So the project background, the Southeast Area Study Update is an update to a 2017 study that Campo completed. And this study will integrate land use and transportation to accommodate existing and future travel needs for the purpose of reevaluating and revising the Unified Vision and Comprehensive Strategy from the 2017 Southeast Area Study. You can see the guiding principles there on the screen, including sustainable growth, traffic flow, traffic safety, economic vitality, and others. And the biggest purpose of this study is to really look at traffic, transportation, and land use in an integrated way for this part of the Campo region. So you see on your screen there the 2017 study area, which pretty much just went to the 95 corridor. They have expanded the update study area to go a little bit beyond the 95 corridor in order to pick up all of Benson, Four Oaks, Pine Level, Micro, and Kinley. And they also did a small expansion up around Garner of the study area to include more of the 401 corridor. So the study is a partnership of Campo, NCDOT, and the Upper Coastal Plain Rural Planning Organization, with Campo primarily being the lead agency and the primary funder for the project. As you can see, there's a number of local jurisdictions included, a lot of Johnson County jurisdictions, as well as portion of Raleigh and Garner in Wake County. The study team consists of two sub-teams. There's a stakeholder oversight team, which is the descriptions on the screen here. The stakeholder oversight team is the higher level team made up of elected officials and other community representatives. It's not meant to be a technical team. It's meant to provide some policy guidance for the study. This group will meet up to 4 times during the project and provide guidance and direction. And then the core technical team is the technical experts around the region, made up primarily of representatives from all the different municipalities, from the planning departments primarily. So I am the representative for the town on the core technical team, and we'll meet up to about 7 times during the course of the project to provide the local insight and more of the technical expertise. So besides the stakeholder oversight team and the core technical team, we're also, the public will be involved in the study, local jurisdiction members, key community stakeholders, elected officials, consultants, and other Campo committees. So as far as the schedule and outreach, as you can see, we're sort of at the second step now, what they call the discover step in public engagement. And we just kicked off the first round of public engagement last week for the study, and that'll be going through to the end of the month. You may have already seen some some social media posts from the town on it. There's also a study website that I'll mention here in a few minutes, as well as several events that we'll be having throughout the community. During this phase of the study, the consultants will be preparing the state of the region, which is really the background document, and begin their policy and plan review and developing the baseline scenarios and the deficiency analysis, looking at, based on the expected growth, where are we going to be deficient over the next 10 years or so in the region. The public engagement plan has been developed, and that details engagement schedule and strategy and defines performance measures, and it also establishes goals for the public engagement. The project website is seareastudyupdate.com, and that's the website that'll include all the information for public and others, and it also includes an engagement hub, including materials that are used during the public engagement periods. And that's such as the outreach toolbox, which includes email and social media post templates, flyers, FAQs, and an elevator speech pitch card. Looking ahead, we're currently in the phase 1 public engagement section, with the purpose and goal of this engagement being visioning and needs identification. As part of this, we'll be working with public to revisit and reevaluate the 2017 guiding principles, identify transportation and land use needs and opportunities, as well as raise awareness about the study update. There are 6 pop-up events scheduled over the next 2 weeks or so. There's also an online survey that's currently open that you can access from the website, seareastudyupdate.com. And then there's also for stakeholder oversight team members and others, there's an outreach toolbox as well on the website that you can access. For pop-up events in Clayton, we will be doing the farmers market next Saturday, or in 2 Saturdays, I believe, this coming Saturday, and then the last Friday in Clayton event. And town staff will be working with the consultants to staff those events. And then as we finish up this phase of the project heading into August, the consultants and the study team will be working on the technical analysis, looking at the state of the region, reviewing adopted and ongoing plans, and beginning to establish the existing land use that will be used in the model, looking at determining the deficiency analysis, and starting to identify hot spots that'll get more detailed study. And that's it. If contact information for the campus staff leading the project is on the screen there, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them as best I can.
Sure. Any questions or comments for staff? Mr. Casey.
I'm fortunate enough to serve on the, I think that's the board of Campo. And so this is a very important study for people that are watching at home, people here, please go to our Facebook site or the site that Ben referenced and fill it out. We're one of the larger towns that are on this. I would hope that we have, equal amount of study participation.
I agree. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
All right. Now I'm going to ask Salvador and his team to join us back up front for employee recognition.
All right. The first employee we would like to recognize will be Chad Wallace. Completed his grade 3 wastewater biological certification. In my opinion, that's the hardest one. Taking them, and that's a real hard one. Yeah, you want to say anything?
Just want to say thank you for my continuance of being employed here, and thank you for letting me grow and get the opportunity to learn new things and move on up.
We appreciate it.
Second employee is Maddie Frazier. She also completed her grade 3 biological certification and her grade 2 laboratory.
You hear me all right? I also wanted to thank the town for investing in my training and professional development. I think I've grown a lot since starting in 2020, my ability to serve the community and perform the operations of the wastewater lab, so thank you.
Awesome. Now, are you and Chad in the same class?
We're in separate classes.
We weren't in the same class.
Okay, so he couldn't cheat off your paper or anything like that. Just checking. Thank you. Congratulations.
And the third one is Michael Ratley. He actually started his class, his schooling, before he was hired on or done the apprentice program, I guess, to see what he was getting himself into. Just recently completed the exam. Now he's a grade 1 operator, and he's been here since June 6th. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to figure out what I wanted to do, and so I started the class, and then I found the apprenticeship, and I found the town of Clayton, and just wanted to make everyone know that I was ready to do this. So apprenticeship just kind of fell into place afterwards, and I was lucky enough to study hard and pass my grade 1 the first time around.
That's awesome. Congratulations to all three of you.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Salvador. All right, up next under public hearings, Special use permit 2022-35 SUP Park Andy 8, request to construct 26 townhome units along Dairy Road near the intersection of Barber Mill Road. This has been noted as a public hearing. I'll now open the public hearing, and at the request of the applicant, they are asking for a continuance to this hearing to Monday, September 19th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Do I hear a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Under old business, Sam's Branch wastewater reclamation facility contract amendment.
Good afternoon. My name's Louis Duffy. I'm the project manager for the Sam's Branch WRF and other various capital improvement projects around town. And today I'm bringing before you a contract amendment to Gannett Fleming's contract. A little bit of background. Our design builder, Gannett Fleming, submitted their GMP to us back in April. We could never really come to terms on the number, so we were exercising our right under our contract to off-ramp them. And this is, like I said, a closeout, so we're reducing their scope and finalizing what they're going to be paid. And I do want to note that in this $21 million, about 11.8 has already been spent to date. That includes the full design, some work that's been done in material, which includes some ductile iron pipe, some stormwater boxes, the screw presses, and blowers. We decided to move forward with that because those are long lead items and are very susceptible to escalation. So we're saving money and scheduling that. We also did the outfall into the noose, and we're going to continue up to manhole 5. And that's because we have the greenway closed down there right now, and we thought might as well utilize that closure to get as much construction done as we can. And then lastly, among various other things, we're getting some services to get the design ready for bid, which is going to be advertised in about 2 weeks. Since we're changing from design build to design bid build, there's various things that need to be compiled so a new contractor understands what they'll be picking up. That's about it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mm-hmm. Any questions from staff, for staff? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the contract agreement. Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the contract amendment. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next, under new business is ordinance 2022-0701, amendment to Chapter 71 of the Code of Ordinances, truck routes.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Town Council, Jonathan Jacobs, Assistant Town Engineer. Tonight I'm here to discuss some proposed truck ordinance amendments, specifically related to downtown, but also townwide. So the kind of conversation about large trucks started with multiple complaints and incidences occurring downtown. As you all know, downtown's a very dense and tight corridor. It's pretty older. It's older, so it's it's intended to be more of a block style, and it's not really designed to carry some of the vehicles that are the size that they are, as everything has gotten bigger over time. So staff has kind of been evaluating what that looks like. We still have to be able to serve businesses and the local vendors downtown. So there's got to be some type of kind of happy medium there. And it's also related to some damage we've had to fire hydrants, utility poles, and other things, and then also roadway damage. And then our fire department has had to go out on several occasions, along with the police department, to direct traffic and aid when a truck is unable to make a turning movement downtown. So our Traffic and Safety Committee has kind of talked through this over the last 3 to 6 months. Our current truck route ordinance prioritizes primary and secondary NCDOT routes. So those are the state roads that are within our area. And they conflict with some of the code that NCDOT has. So we're promoting truck routes that are also posted as limited tonnage, and I'll define what all that means in just a moment. And then we also have to focus on the local routes, or local trips. So, restaurants downtown, businesses downtown still have to have deliveries, and we can't restrict them from being able to do that. Or if you live downtown and you're moving or you're having furniture delivered, those vehicles still have to be able to serve you. We can't put you on an island. So going back to what a primary and secondary route is. So a primary route would be like US 70, NC 42, kind of a major US or NC route. And then a secondary route would be Guy Road, Amelia Church Road, Shotwell Road, some of the other secondary state routes. And then a limited tonnage road is a road that the state posts, and what that means is it's essentially a restricted route for trucks. And that specifically, the road is not designed typically for the trucks, not necessarily in turning radius, but also asphalt thickness and things of that nature. So it having heavy truck traffic can do a lot of damage to roads. Similar to kind of residential subdivisions, those roads are not designed for heavy truck traffic. And then going to local trips, the big issue downtown is just trying to limit some of the traffic, not necessarily even the turning movements, but trying to keep the open walkability and safeness downtown. And staff's also working on some other initiatives with Main Street, but so working on how we can limit that, but also be able to adequately serve the businesses. So what staff is proposing or recommending to council tonight is revising the existing truck route ordinance to only list the major routes throughout town. And I've got a map on the next slide that kind of shows that, but that focuses primarily on multi-lane facilities that are designed adequately to carry these vehicles. And how I would describe that is those are really the trucks that are traveling through Clayton, not necessarily doing business within Clayton, but they're using the roads through Clayton to get where they need to go. And then focusing on restricting the routes that we have problems with and where we want to keep or try to deter the trucks from going. And then, like I've stated, we can't restrict every road. Eventually, a truck has to get from point A to point B. So the proposed restricted routes that I've got before you tonight, I've kind of got in 2 different categories here. So I'll focus primarily first with between US 70 Business and Main Street. So those are kind of all the north-south routes connecting Main Street and 70, which are kind of our most troubled areas right now, with South Fayetteville Street right outside, South Moore Street, South Smith Street, Compton Street, and Durham Street. And then kind of moving away from that north-south, more of the east-west. And then we've got an outlier is Barber Street between Hamby and East Main, West 2nd Street between Atkinson and South Fayetteville, East 2nd Street between South Fayetteville and East Main, East Front between Central and North O'Neill, and then Pinecroft Drive, which is off Guy Road between NC 42. And the other piece of this, and Pinecroft's a good example of a newer subdivision where traffic calming really wasn't taken into account in the design. So when we review subdivisions in conjunction with the planning department, we try to avoid long stretches of roadway to prevent not only trucks, but speeding and things of that nature. So here's some maps for reference that are also in your agenda packet. On the left side there, you've got your downtown. It looked a little bit better on my computer screen, but the hard-to-read red lines you've got there are our proposed restricted routes. And then the 2 outliers that I want to note are South Lombard Street and, oh Lord, the name is escaping me, the one that Walgreens is off of that runs on the other side of the school. Robertson Street, yes, sorry. Those are state maintained streets, so you will see that those are omitted because we cannot ordinance a state road. So these are all the town facilities that primarily have been from problem areas historically, and then our outlier is shown on the right in the smaller map. And then going back to my statement earlier, the green routes here are what we're proposing to call our truck routes. And so, like I said, those are the major arterials through town, with the exception of Shotwell and Covered Bridge. That's really our only north-south kind of get people around town option. So it's probably the only non-multi-lane besides NC 42 West, which is planned to be a multi-lane facility. So speaking to local deliveries, neither the current ordinance or the future ordinance will restrict local deliveries and truck traffic. So what is considered a local delivery, I'll use Town Hall as an example. If Town Hall was receiving a delivery of goods, a route up Fayetteville Street to Town Hall would be considered a legal route because it's the best route to get from US 70 business directly to Town Hall. So the same kind of principle would take place with the businesses downtown. Everybody uses Google, GPS, everything, so we have to work kind of with that. And there are avenues we can take as staff to try to promote or work with Google to remove some of these routes that are, and as traffic code changes and signage is put up, as the cars are taking the street view pictures that we use, they're also recording other data. As you probably noticed, it's starting to show you where stoplights are, traffic lights and stop signs are. It's kind of recording and getting some of that data, so it's making it better every day. And so as we work to work through this and contact and work with our partners such as Google and Waze, we can try to eliminate that, but at the end of the day, we can't always eliminate everything. So with that being said, there should be no concern about the trucks going to the local businesses downtown. It's really primarily focusing on the people using downtown as a cut through to get from where they need to go. So implementation of this plan, staff would procure and install the adequate signage at all the restricted locations. And that would typically be at each bookend of the intersection. If there's a major intersection or a intersection with the street that's not restricted, we would install signage there. And that would be done by our streets department here in-house. And then our communication and outreach team will publish the proposed changes through social media and on the town website. And then additionally, we will coordinate with and distribute information to downtown businesses to share with their vendors. We will work with specific businesses if needed to try to work through their primary routes. The major issue with that is the delivery driver is typically not the same person, so trying to work through how it's a one-size-fits-all, not for a specific use. And then we would implement a 30-day grace period to allow not only the police department to get adjusted, but also to help staff educate and get the message out as these offenders are taking place and issuing warning citations instead of an actual violation during that period. And then having ongoing enforcement beyond the grace period. As with every citation, the police officer at the time of the citation will use his judgment to determine if a citation is warranted. And as we all know, we've all been pulled over. We don't always get a ticket. So working on that education piece, the goal is not to really make money and get citations. It's really to try to protect the integrity of our downtown core. And then after the grace period is over, we would start our actual enforcement. So that's kind of a quick overhaul. I also provided a memo with some more detailed information in your agenda packet, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Is there a fine beyond the grace period? Will there be a fine if you're ticketed?
There will be. I do not. We will have to work with the police department to determine what that is. I believe we have standard citation numbers.
Good. Ms. Archer.
Great information and very helpful, and I think this will make a big difference for a lot of the roadways that we see suffering for this. And I know I spoke with you earlier about it on behalf of a constituent, but could you talk about stallings between Robertson and O'Neill and the logic of not having that on the list?
Sure. So to the statement I made, we can't restrict every road downtown. And the issue with West Stallings is that's really before you get to Main Street, Front Street, and going towards the west, you have kind of a dead end on Front Street. So Stallings is your natural next progression. And since the town cannot regulate North O'Neill Street, we have to have a place for the truck to go. We can't, like I said, we can't restrict every road. So, and we have a lot of businesses and companies along North O'Neill and up in Archer's Lodge that need to use North O'Neill to get and to operate their business. And so while West Stallings is a residential natured street, and part of it is maintained by NCDOT beyond City Road, Municipal Park, trying to be consistent and ensure that we also have a place and we're not causing a dead end per se and causing a truck driver to get potentially get a citation when he really has nowhere to go.
Mr. Casey.
Thank you for doing this. I mean, out of all the, I guess, feedback we get from the community and from the citizens, these trucks on these streets and the noise and the mess they make is one of the top ones that I constantly get. I'm sure others on council. And let's be honest, probably a lot of this is tied to the development that we're seeing in the community. Is it possible for us to add something in the during the permitting process or put something in there regarding that, when somebody's filling out an application for a new development or something?
Yeah, the same educational piece can be had during a pre-construction meeting before they break ground or before a land disturbance permit is issued. We can kind of talk through some of that. With development, it is a little bit easier for staff to try to enforce without having to get the police department involved because we have a little bit more regulation with development, but absolutely there's a big education piece that can go along with development as well.
Okay, appreciate it. And then kind of like a follow-up question, how easily modifiable is this? So if we do see some challenges, some people raise concerns, or maybe there's some other, thought that comes into play later on, is this something that's pretty fluid?
Sure. So as with any ordinance, staff can present a change at any time to council for a vote. The ordinance is written in a way to easily be modified, just as we do with any of our other traffic code. It's just a bulleted list of streets, so it's just as easy to add a street as it is to remove a street if we have the opposite type of issue. If we wanted to remove a street, that same process, I would come and present a similar ordinance document that you have in your packet tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan, real quick, do you maybe want to talk just a little bit about the internal committee that you're taking care of and how those kind of requests may make it to your all's agenda?
Sure. So as staff, we have a traffic and safety committee that's internally. It consists of engineering, the planning department, operations staff, our police department, a good holistic group of individuals to talk through a lot of these complex issues. So the truck routes has been talked about for about 6 months, trying to work up a plan. We started with kind of the opposite. We were going to modify the existing and promote, hey, this is where you should drive. And I think that opens a whole nother can of worms where we should really focus on where we don't want people to drive. So with that being said, anytime the council or even staff gets complaints, they're typically presented to myself or another member of the traffic and safety committee, and we meet every other month and we talk. That's all we talk about is traffic and safety related issues. And so similar to the four-way stop that the council approved last month, that was all worked through the traffic and safety committee before I bring it to you.
So if people experience an 18-wheeler trying to turn onto Main Street, and instead of them sending me a video of this, is there not a greater value in making sure you just get a picture of the side of the truck that has all the NCDOT or USDOT numbers? Because otherwise, I don't know how businesses or citizens can, help us police this if they're not getting us the right kind of information. Just because it's a green 18-wheeler doesn't help me with enforcement. But if it's a green 18-wheeler and it's got all that number and stuff on the side of the door, that is helpful.
Sure. So I would, and I'll let Chief correct me if I'm wrong, but my initial would be to try to always get the license plate and the name of the vehicle. I think in that scenario, education's the big piece. We would start with contacting the company of the offender, but then reporting it to the non-emergency line, and then that puts it on the police department's radar, and they can kind of enforce if it's in a specific area or go on watch of that area and then try to rectify the issue in person.
Perfect. All right.
Is there an email that they could send this to as well? Because I know I get a lot of those same issues. Thank you, Mayor, for pointing that out, videos and stuff. Is there an email?
At this current time, I don't believe there is, but we could, from a traffic and safety standpoint, we can definitely internally discuss maybe having a community email or something, a place for citizens to report not only that, but other issues that they see. But always encourage them to call town hall if they aren't sure who to call. The front desk staff typically knows. They have a kind of a guidebook of various different things, and we will always get you to the right place. So.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Yeah, and then lastly, the four-way stops, the ones on Fayetteville Street, I'm glad to see those. And then there's also some of those speed limit signs that are the radar that tell you what your speed is. I've had multiple people around town say they really enjoy seeing those, and they feel like that has made an impact on people reducing their speed downtown too. I think that was a great decision. I'd like to even see more of those if it's feasible.
Yeah, they're very effective, and they collect more than just what they show you. So it helps us from a committee standpoint to make recommendations to council based on a lot of the data that it's collecting, because it's also recording your speed and the number of cars that pass through that unit. So it helps us determine if there's really an issue or if it's just a perception.
Yeah, because I tell everybody, that part is there for a little while, and then the ticket writing comes out after that. So you get your warning, and then, you get your ticket. So
they also make a more kind of what I would say invisible device that doesn't display anything, but it records all the data. And those are typically very effective when you're determining if there's a speeding issue, because when you visually see that, you naturally want to slow down, or you may have the opposite where you naturally want to speed up. They tend to have both effects. I won't mention any names about speeding up, but the more invisible devices collect more accurate data, whereas the police department has a separate initiative of trying to regulate the speed. From an engineering and traffic and safety standpoint, I want to know the data so that we can determine if we really need to make a change based on what the driver is actually doing.
Cool. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, sir.
So you do have two ordinances to vote on, and before I sit down, I want to provide two quick other updates while I'm up here. As mentioned, staff has installed the four-way stop on Fayetteville just down the street, so that's been in effect for about 3 weeks now. So drivers still getting used to that. And then back in November of last year, council approved some what's called TAP funding with NCDOT to replace some ADA wheelchair ramps, accessible ramps. And the state is getting ready to start that initiative. And so there's both state routes with ramps, and then they're also working on some town ramps. We provided a match of $17,800. And so many of these are downtown, so there will be some further communication coming out with the PIO team on what that looks like and how it's going to affect the public.
Awesome. All right. Mr. Thompson.
I just want to bring to your attention regarding the four-way stop on Fayetteville. The northbound stop signs are obstructed by the limbs and things. And I think that's a part of a bigger problem townwide with sight lines at intersections. We've got some right over here on O'Neill Street. If you're coming south on O'Neill, you can't. When you get to Horne Street, you couldn't see anybody coming from your right. So I think we've got a bigger problem, but especially with the new four-way stop, I worry that northbound coming up Fayetteville, you can't see that stop sign at all until you're literally right there on top of it. So
okay.
We probably need to go ahead and head that off before there's a problem.
Yeah, I'll get with our streets department first thing tomorrow, and we'll get that working. Also mention, because of the hill, we went ahead and put stop ahead signs to try to precursor that as well.
So I know that there's a methodology for how much you're supposed to be able to see and where, and I'm appreciative of all that, but I'd like to see us also use a little common sense, because everybody doesn't park or everybody doesn't stop in front of the stop sign. Some people roll 3/4 of the way beside the stop sign, so that's their sight, I want us to be able to look at it like what the law says is the sight line, and then what the common sense approach to sight line is, because I'm seeing that case pop up in different areas around Clayton.
So the other issue with that is as crosswalks are introduced and they tend to get wider and wider, the stop bar is always in front of the crosswalk, and that's putting you stopping way before the actual intersection. And you don't typically want to stop and block the crosswalk, but from a visibility standpoint, you ideally should have sight distance from where that stop bar location is. So as these are similar complaints, as they come in, we can try to monitor the specific issues, but I can personally tell you with new development and everything that engineering is working on, that is something that we look at, because you have what's called a sight distance, and then you have a sight distance, like your immediate sight distance triangle, which is typically recorded on a plat, and that's your immediate obstruction, and then your sight line is typically 400 or 500 feet down the road where you're looking at a car, but the sight distance triangle focuses more like on signage, landscaping, things of that nature, but it helps us, since it's a recorded measure, we can legally go in and maintain that area so that, because it's typically on private property.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right, anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make
Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve ordinance 2022-07-01, the amendment to 71.02.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval of the ordinance 2022-0701, the amendment to 71-02. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve ordinance 2022-07-02, amendment to 71.03.
Second.
We have a motion to approve ordinance 2022-07-02, amendment to 71.03. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Up next is staff report. We'll begin with the manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple items for tonight. First of all, today was a great day for ribbon cutting. For those that were able to attend Municipal Park's ribbon cutting today, the park is open and ready for business. There are a few elements to the band shell in particular that we are still waiting on from a delivery and supply chain issues. So for the rest of the park, it is open, but the band shell is still going to be a little bit longer before we can put that into use. But for any residents that haven't had a chance to come out there, it's a great looking park and a lot of activity out there even during the day-to-day. Piggybacking off of that, this Saturday at 10 o'clock, we will be having a rededication of the All-Star Park to the Clyde Sinclair Park. That's 10 o'clock here in downtown. So if you can bring the kids, there'll be some little basketballs for takeaways and that kind of stuff there. Excuse me, for staff, actually this Thursday night, we are having a staff appreciation night at the Clovers game. So hopefully we'll be able to see some of you and a lot of the other staff members and their families out there watching the game and taking in hopefully another Clovers win. A couple other quick updates. The planning department had a kickoff last week for the small area plan over at 42 and 70. Tomorrow we have a kickoff for the downtown master plan. So both of those projects that were approved a few months ago, or excuse me, a few meetings ago, are underway. In terms of internally, for some staff training, as many of you know, Ann Game has been kind of leading up an internal staff professional development for us. Coming up here next month, actually, Councilmember Sims is gracious enough to come do some customer experience training with us, kind of get the senior leadership staff kind of acclimated to kind of really what that is in terms of the end users or both the residents as well as the contractors and everybody else that we interact on a regular basis as well as each other. So we're really excited to get that kicked off and kind of implement some more of that throughout the organization. Last but not least, just a quick update on the wastewater treatment plant project. Lewis mentioned it earlier a little bit, but we do intend to have the rebid or a new full bid set of documents available for contractors by July 29th is the date that we're targeting. We have done a pre-qualification for those contractors, and we did receive 5 submittals on that. The final qualifications, or excuse me, 6. Apologize. Thank you, Lewis. So hopefully we've got some good competition coming our way for the final bids, which we intend to have due basically September 2nd is the target date, pending any other delays that with the posting of that. So, we've all been trying to figure out what the right mix is to get that project moving forward. We were gracious that the state did include $25 million of funding within the state budget here. So we are optimistic that with these new bids, we will be able to move forward with the project and have the site re-energized by calendar year 2023. With that, I think that's it for me.
All right, Mr. Attorney. Town Clerk.
No report.
All right, other staff?
Lee Barbie, I'll put my fire chief hat on for this presentation. So some years back, we had some issues with fire safety, water supply, access. You've heard us talk about that with a lot of subdivision changes. But most recently, we had a construction site that has some safety requirements. And this is having access to the sites during construction and even post, right about the time people are moving in. Having access and having water supply is very important for fire protection, but it's also important for emergency response for EMS and law enforcement. So we had a site that a stop work order was done most recently. I don't know if y'all have heard about it, but I want Robert Yarber to come up and just give you a brief timeline of what happened to cause that and what we're doing to help mitigate it. Robert.
Good evening, folks. As you can see, I'm getting a little gray on top, so access to a site is very important for me. When I'm out there doing an inspection, or one of the guys is out there doing an inspection. Recently, we came across a site that did not meet the requirements of both the fire code and the building code. A stop work order was issued. The timeline started around June the 10th, and it followed through to the 22nd of June, at which time the person had made no effort to correct these items, and the stop work order was posted. Since that time, staff has met with the developer, trying to get water to the site and access to the site, and we met on the 11th, and they're working on it, trying to get everything taken care of. If there's any questions about anything anybody's heard, I'll be glad to answer those questions.
I mean, I don't have any questions, but I'm happy to see that, we are doing our part and holding people accountable. And I mean, that's for the safety and well-being of everybody involved. No one's here to try to slow them down or cost them money daily and all that stuff, but we're here to make sure it's safe and like it's supposed to be. So I'm proud of y'all for that. Thank you.
The site has not been completely shut down. They're just not allowed to go vertical with any wood products at this time.
Fair enough.
Because of the lack of access for firefighters.
One of the things that I failed to mention is it's really a joint effort between multiple town departments. Engineering plays a big part in it. Planning, inspections, fire, and electrical, law enforcement. It connects to so many departments within the town. And the one thing that I've seen with this most recent incident is all of us pulling together trying to achieve same goals, which are the violence.
Yep, that's awesome.
But that's the main reason I'm here, because I want to put to rest any questions that anybody might have, because it's a large product. So. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, square to square update.
Good evening. Very loud. Amy Sharon, Clayton Fire Department. While I talk, Nathaniel's actually going to play the highlight reel from our event kind of behind me, so I'll let him get started before I start. Can you turn it down a little bit more? All right. So on Saturday, July 2nd, about 2 weeks ago, we gathered for our second annual Square to Square event. It turned out to be a perfect, although fairly hot day on Main Street. It's estimated that our crowd was even bigger than last year, and last year the crowd blew us away. So we were very excited to see that we had a lot of the same faces out, as well as many new ones. We added some new things, including a foam party. The video started with our fire truck spray down. We had epic acts out there doing an axe throwing trailer. And then we even had a tie-dye t-shirt station. Some of our crowd favorites were back. We had our bicycle parade, water slides, the poetry fox, and our hot dog eating contest, which is on the screen right now. Some of our police officers even participated this year. Did not win, unfortunately, but we did have a very successful hot dog eating contest. We gave away about 1,000 free snow cones, and you guys helped us cut up about 90 watermelons to give out. The organization and implementation of this event was truly a team effort, from volunteers with our DDA, the Clayton Chamber of Commerce, and even Generation Church got involved this year. And then we had staff from almost every department in town, either working that day or helping plan the event from afar, coming up with ideas, helping with different strategies. The feedback we received from the public was overwhelmingly positive. We even had a few people, mention that this was their new favorite tradition here in Clayton. A few people, this is our foam party, which is a new product for Raglan Productions that he brought out to our event. So we appreciate your support, your watermelon cutting skills, and are already looking forward to having it back in 2023.
So much fun. So how many hot dogs did the winner eat?
So it was actually 7 in 5 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot. But we did learn that the hot dog buns were a little dry. So next year we've already kind of planned out how to make that not a problem. Dunking them in water apparently was a little gross.
Okay.
So yeah, it was 7 in 5 minutes. Last year, he ate 11 in 5 minutes, and then there actually was a runoff, so he ate 2 or 3 more.
Wow.
So yeah.
That is crazy. Well, excellent work.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you as well. I saw some of the behind the scenes planning that went on, and you guys did a great job coordinating, keeping communication going. So thanks a lot. I think it went really well.
Mr. Thompson.
Obviously, it was a big success, but I also think I want to make sure we recognize the communications department for this production, because it really captures the very best of Clayton and the best of this event and our people, and strong work on that. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm watching the video. Okay, a little ADD going on here. No, it's awesome. And the fireworks is a whole touchy subject, but I'm going to tell you what, that's a lot of community joy right there, I think it's fantastic, so thank you to everybody. Just wonderful. Stormwater update. You always get to follow the hard stuff,
I know, the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got to talk about stormwater. And permits. And new applications. Good evening, Mayor, members of Town Council, Joshua Baird, Engineering Director. So quick update just on stormwater program. Starting out our stormwater program a year and a half ago, really are several state and federal drivers for it. We've got our floodplain ordinance, the Sediment Pollution Control Act for erosion control. We have the NEWS rules, we have water supply watershed, and there's also the MS4 permit, so Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, so M4Ss, also known as the MPDS. That's coming from the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 permit that extends from the Clean Water Act. So lots of regulations that go into that stormwater program that we house and we run here in the engineering department. The MS4, the MPDS Phase 2 permit, is based on a 5-year cycle. We received our permit in January of 2018, and the 5 years is ending up in this January 2023, and it is time to reapply. The permits for the next cycle are due August 4th. It may seem counterintuitive. Yes, we do have to apply for something that it puts more requirements and strings on the town. Then those get passed through development via our stormwater ordinance that everything's incorporated into. So that is due on the 4th of August. The application or the submittal includes an application as well as what's known as a stormwater management plan. You may also hear it referred to as a SWAMP, short for Stormwater Management Plan, and that you have your permit that has the requirements of the town, and then you have your stormwater management plan that encompasses how the town will meet all those different aspects of the permit. So there's the 6 minimum measures of pollution prevention and good housekeeping, illicit discharge detection elimination system, or elimination is doing away with anything other than rain down the drain, public education outreach, public participation and involvement, and I'm missing one in there somewhere. What I say? There's 6 measures we got to work through. So this permit cycle is due August 4th and includes a draft of that. If you recall, an update was provided on March 30th this past year. We underwent an audit. The intent was feedback from that audit would be received in an audit report that then could be incorporated in a new stormwater management plan to go in with the next permit cycle. We still have not received those audit results from the state. Checking in with them, I'm hearing any day. So we're still waiting on those. In conversations with the state, they still expect us to apply, even though we haven't got those audit. And then as we go ahead and get our application in, we can work through any details or any items that come out of that audit report and include them in the new stormwater management plan. So with that being said, there's no action for you tonight, but this is just more of an update that town staff will be preparing that application, a draft stormwater management plan in preparation of submitting prior to the August 4th deadline for a new 5-year permit cycle that will pick up in January of 2023 and run another 5 years. So with that, I'll take any questions, but more just an update on us submitting the application.
Awesome. Questions or comments? All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks.
All right, I'll now open the floor for informal discussion and public comment. Anyone wish to speak? All right, if not, I'll turn it over to council for comments. Mr. Sims.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to take the time to recognize the Clayton Fire Department. On June 20th, I witnessed them on a fire that was on Barber Street that they contained that could have the potential to go across a bunch of other homes. But what I was most impressed with was the implementation of safety things that they have in place for the fire department, where before they left, and I know Chief Barber probably speak more to it, but they get from smoke inhalation, and there's a whole safety thing that's been put in place, which I was so impressed with. None of them could leave until they were checked out. So just kudos to them for what all they do for the town and what all I got a chance to witness.
Awesome. All right, anyone else? All right, well, if that's the case, then I will entertain a motion to go into closed session after a 10-minute break.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Call for a 10-minute recess.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, is there anything to come before, any other business to come before this council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night.